Namaskar and good afternoon, and welcome to a transformative session of the Eduverse Summit Series 2024. Bharat Shiksha Sankalp. So, this is our initiative, as you all know. My name is Avinav Sharma, and it is my privilege today to serve as your moderator. We are gathered here to spark conversations on a very interesting topic, a topic which is very close to my heart, to be honest, cultivating social responsibility and how to incorporate sustainability in the Indian education system. This initiative, as you know, Bharat Shiksha Sankalp, aims to embed the principles of sustainability and social responsibility within the fabric of our education institutions, ensuring that the next generation is not only well educated but also ethically grounded and environmentally conscious. And this is something which we all feel is quite essential in today's time. Let me move quickly to speaker introductions. We have an amazing panel today, and it's my honor to introduce our esteemed panel, each a stalwart in their field. And we have tried our best to have our panelists come from diverse backgrounds to have diverse inputs to this discussion. First of all, we have Honorable Advocate Nishant Kumar Srivastav, who is in the esteemed position as an advocate on record at the Supreme Court of India. Mr. Srivastav has been at the forefront of legal advocacy for education reforms. His work ensures that sustainability is not just a concept, but a legally upheld principle within our institutions. We have Mr. Rajiv Chari Tupasakri. As an influential leader at Niti Aayog and a life coach, Mr. Tupasakri brings a unique blend of policy insight and personal development to the table. His contributions have been instrumental in promoting a sustainable mindset that transcends the classroom and enters the realm of lifelong learning. We have Professor Dr. Jyoti Pathania, a distinguished professor of international relations at the Jindal School of International Affairs. Dr. Pathania's global outlook infuses Indian education with international best practices in sustainability, and her academic leadership inspires students and educators alike to think globally while acting locally. Our fourth panelist, Professor Pankaj Chaudhary, he will be joining soon in next 2 to 3 minutes, so we will have him on board as well. As we engage with these luminaries, and because this event is being live streamed, so I request and I anticipate a session rich in dialogue and discovery. My request to the audience, as we embark on this journey through our discussion, I invite you to contribute your thoughts and questions. Feel free to drop your comments, questions through the chat box or the Q&A section on the Zoom panel. Your engagement is crucial to shaping a comprehensive dialogue. All right, so let's begin our Bharat Shiksha Sankalp session for today, starting with Advocate Nishant Kumar Srivastavji. Sir, what role do you think the legal framework plays in ensuring education institutions adopting sustainable practices in India?
Yeah, before I come to that thing, let me thank this platform Eduverse and Bharat Shiksha Sankalp for inviting me to speak on such a momentous and very important topic which we are going to discuss today. You know, I just wanted to bring to your notice that if we see at the ancient Indian wisdom and education system, we'll find that respect to nature and respect to the natural resources was the part and parcel of our old wisdom, our education system as such. And to give a perspective to the whole discussion, I would just like to ask people attending here that do you know which is the most important source of law in any civilization? You know, if you see the history of law making and laws, you will find that the customs, the practices, the traditions which a society used to follow over a period of time was later on when the state came, when legislatures came, they codified it into the law. And the problem here is that in Indian context, foreigners came, they imposed their laws over there, and much of the wisdom was lost in the whole process. We completely shunned the wonderful thoughts we had for our nature, for our system, and which respect to the nature was very much part and parcel of our education system. Be that as it may, now what you have asked, what role the legal framework plays in ensuring educational institution. nowadays, I would say the law is all encompassing. What we say from womb to tomb concept is there. So every aspect of our lives is governed by law here or there. And education cannot be, away from that very bond. The first and foremost important role the legal framework can play is to provide a mandate, a regulation, a code. You can test the success or failure of anything when there is some standard over there, some parameter over there, then only you can check it. So first of all, there should be a proper legal framework, laws as such, which has to be followed by everyone. Then only, even the educational institutions. Then only we can say that whether we are failing in it, or we are not following it, or we have to do something a bit more. Second very important thing which I feel is giving incentives to the educational institutions. Every society, every organization is believes in the laws of motion. It would like to remain in the static position unless and until there is a push. And moving to more sustainable area, more sustainable and environment friendly technologies and processes requires much investment. So the budgetary allocation, the freedom which is required for any educational institution to implement those reforms, to innovate, has to be there in place. Again, very important thing government can do is curriculum integration. Bringing concern about environment degradation, these kind of things into our curriculum right from the beginning, from the basic education level till the higher education. This should be concern for environment, or environment law studies should be incorporated in our education system. That is going to give a very important impetus to the whole thinking discourse about environment. Then a very interesting thing which the government has allowed, we all know about, is corporate social responsibility, CSR initiatives. Government must make it mandatory for certain level of industries to collaborate with educational institutions to ensure that many achievable targets are achieved. They support educational institution financially, provide them leadership and guidance, hand holding, so that they are able to incorporate and implement these environment sustainable programs and policies in their whole structure. Then environment impact assessment compliances that should be but also made applicable to the educational institution, because nowadays we are no longer having gurukuls we are having massive institutions, big universities, big colleges, all AC, everything is there. So environment impact assessment considerations, compliances must be made mandatory for any educational institution. Apart from all the other institutions, every kind of building and construction, big level ticket, that it should also be made integral part of the educational institutions also. So broadly speaking, these things, there could be so many things, but these things come to my mind when I think that what a role the legal framework can play in integrating all these things, sustainability in our education system. So.
No, these are amazing inputs and observation. I really like your statement that law is all encompassing, because that's something that we envision as well, because I don't think that without any proper framework, be it any field, we will be able to execute the decisions that we take, I think has to be planned. A framework has to be there, and obviously monitoring of those kind of decisions. Thank you so much. I'm moving to Mr. Rajiv. So, Mr. Rajiv, you have been a mentor of change at Niti Aayog. So, my question is with regards to Niti Aayog. So, how is Niti Aayog approaching the incorporation of sustainability in education planning?
Good afternoon to everyone and to my fellow panelists. And thank you very much, Avinav, for having me over here, at this particular, event. So I would like to just build first on what Nishant ji just talked about, and very aptly, he brought about how the whole concept of Bharat, or India is not just the, the recent 100 years or recent 200 years, but comes from a big legacy, of what we were. It's some kind of a bell curve where sometimes we have forgotten what our history was and what our vast and rich history is all about, and the way this whole sustainability and education were so closely linked in the earlier times, right? And the same is now, being revamped and brought back into our system and into our country, and that is something that I really feel very proud about. If you go back to our Shastras also, if you study about the creation, then one of the elements of creation was Prakriti, is what we call in Hindi, which is nothing but, the aspect where everything, when you talk about the 5 elements, be it air, water, earth, fire, sky, all these elements are all part of Prakriti, in which we are also one part of it, right? And therefore, the sustainability as a topic to me is a very vast subject. Okay, whereas today everybody understands sustainability. Okay, if I do something green initiative, then I'm doing my job. Okay, or if I reduce a little bit of waste, then that is sustainability. So, of course, pat your back, you're doing a good job. But is that what sustainability really means? Is something I think we all need to, debate more on it. So, just to build our own understanding to a very next level in that. So, what I personally believe is that in this whole sustainability approach, we have forgotten one big point, which is about personal sustainability. We are very adept in talking about other sustainability things, but many of our students today, struggle. Why only students? Many of the people who are working in corporates, they also struggle because personal sustainability in itself has not been taught from the grassroots level. And this is something that, hats off to the government of India, Niti Aayog as a mission, and they have really gone into the depth of all these things and connected back to our ancient roots. So I'll just give you an example of what they have done. They have created something called as SATHE, SATHE. It's a project, and it means the Sustainable Action for Transforming Human Capital in Education. So this is something, that they're really talking about, that the transformation, has to happen first within ourselves. In terms of the entire ecosystem is at a later stage, but first at a student level, then at the teaching level, then at the management level, and then we go out to the entire world, right? And some significant steps they have piloted already. And as we already see, that before we have to build, you talk about, Burj Khalifa, or you talk about anything, the Gateway of India, anything that you talk about, before erecting something above, we all understand we need to first build the foundation, right? Without having a strong foundation, you will not be able to scale up to the level that you desire to. And that's what today, the Niti Aayog is focusing on. And since 2020, they have taken, radical steps to build the strong foundation. So in strong foundation, what I mean is they have found out that our students were not competitive at the level of international level students, and they were facing challenges whenever they are going across. So the learning levels were not up to the mark, right? So the teacher to the student ratio is a challenge, right? I'm just throwing you some of the challenges which are actively being worked upon, because this is about foundation building exercise. The education management, the leadership team by itself, because most of them, if you see, apart from some of them big corporate houses, many of them were landowners, and they had big lands. So what to do with the land? Open a school, So with that approach, especially in the tier 2, a lot of schools, have come up, but they are not so much adept with what management really means and what it means about holistic development of a particular child. So to understanding all these things, what government has now understood through Niti Aayog is that academic interventions like changing pedagogy, curriculum, or capacity building of teachers will only play an incremental role. Whereas what we need now is something that will lead to significant change. And therefore, Niti Aayog has constituted a 360-degree approach, on 5 main pillars that they've talked about. I'll just briefly touch upon one or two of them. So what they have introduced is institutionalizing a competency-based approach, right? That is shifting from completion of syllabus to delivery of competencies. So if you remember earlier, it was like, okay, so much portion needs to be completed by so much deadline, and some way or the other, the education system will try to focus to do that. But now, they are focusing. The way we are going to do forward is how do we deliver competencies, and not only deliver, but also the entire evaluation mechanism is going to change. Right. So earlier it was more about if you by rote memory, if you've done a good job, you will score marks. But no, that's not going to be the evaluation mechanism going forward. It's all going to be competency-based real-time tracking system. Correct. Digital learning strategies have been now introduced. Integrated curriculum, that is which I talked about, holistic and multidisciplinary. So not only about science, maths, English, not only these specific subjects, but well-rounded who are equipped with and therefore include weightage to holistic development, which includes sustainability as one of the big topics in that. The NEP which you refer to, NEP, National Education Policy 2020, also recognizes the need for teacher professional development. And they have mandated certain hours for teacher in which sustainability is one of the important aspects for them to understand and build their capabilities. Because if guru is not adept, how will he or she, take care of the children? And some of the other wonderful things that, Government of India through Niti Aayog is doing is investing in school leadership. They are giving them opportunities to participate in the reputed institutions like IIM, IIT, and other forums where this management can go and learn, about topics like sustainability, about triple bottom line, about growth. So their whole vision, changes. And these are some of the things that I would like to talk about, from what Niti Aayog has done for today.
No, absolutely. I do have a follow-up question and a comment as well. I really liked your statement on personal sustainability, because this is something which is completely a new discussion, and probably we can have another Bharat Shiksha Sankalp just on this topic. You mentioned about competency-based evaluation. So I'll request, because we have an audience that will need some more context, and if you can just expand it in 2 more minutes,
Sure.
how this works.
I'm simple. When we say competence, it is what? When we say competency, it is how. Okay, so it's just saying that, okay, how does this, what is the way in this, or what is the way, 2 plus 2 works. Right? So these are simple things that can be explained, but the how part becomes very difficult. So we are just in terms of, what it means, what is competence. So we can explain the what part of it, but we don't know how part of it. And that's where we want to build the how. So how will essentially trigger your mind and start putting into a thinking space rather than only a learning space. I hope that helps.
And yeah, that's that was needed, because I just spoke from the point of view of the audience. Thank you so much, Mr. Rajiv. Moving on, welcoming Dr. Pathania to the discussion. So over to you. And my question, Dr. Pathania, with your profound experience, is that how you think that international relations, because you are an international relations expert, so how can international relations education contribute to a more sustainable and socially responsible future?
Thank you so much for that question, Avinav. But before I get into the question, I want to ask everybody, or set the ball rolling, to ponder over the mute question, and that is why we should integrate sustainability into education and skilling system, And my answer perhaps to this would be, sustainability is no longer just a buzzword. It is a necessity. It is the primary agenda of the world today. And India is not far behind. India is witnessing a growth of its green economy. And it is estimated that India's renewable energy target will create around 3.4 million new job opportunities by 2030. And this does not even take into account the number of jobs that will emerge as and when the sustainability sector grows, whether it is in waste management, green building designs, clean technology, sustainable agriculture, environmental consulting, and so on. In fact, in a recent survey which was conducted, this will be of perhaps importance to the larger audience here, that sustainability manager is going to be perhaps one of the top 10 jobs of this decade. So we need to empower our youth to inhabit and thrive in the environment of sustainability, and they should be given the opportunities. Now, coming to your question, education is not static. It evolves and changes with time, and it should. It should be used as a tool which facilitates sustainable living, as well as provide opportunities to think critically, innovatively, and also provide solutions towards, let's say, local challenges, and those local challenges which have global relevance. Local is global and global is local today. So, in fact, the international community's adoption of SDG, as we call them, that is the Sustainable Development Goals, in 2015, has set the agenda for 2030. And we all know it rests on the principle of 4 Ps, which is peace, prosperity, people, and planet. Now, how can international relation education contribute to a more sustainable and responsible future? What does international relation education teach? Well, it teaches relationship of being an interconnected and interdependent world, which includes understanding the global challenges like climate change, loss of biodiversity, unsustainable use of resources, and inequality. And all this is absolutely a necessity for building a sustainable and socially responsible future. The IR Education for Sustainable Development gives the learners of all ages, number 1, knowledge, number 2, skills, number 3, values, and number 3, an agency to address these interconnected global challenges, especially in the field of non-traditional security issues. In international relations, we call them as non-traditional security issues. Issues like environmental degradation, pollution, sustainability, poverty alleviations. All these, in fact, in today's time, have become more of a security challenge than the military challenges. But how many of us are actually doing things, to address these non-traditional security issues, which have become more like traditional security issues? Then I would like to mention the UN Decade of Education for Sustainable Development. After this was done, there was an increase of research focused especially on education related to sustainability, and there was high recognition given in the international arena with respect to the fact that education is a key to sustainability. And in fact, through the UN Decade of Education for Sustainable Development, many countries are now committed to establishing a solid education for sustainable development. And what this has led to? This has further enhanced the integration of sustainability in curricula, leading to a development of an interdisciplinary, collaborative, and innovative-driven studies and approaches. So the educators, in fact, also must be open to such innovation and collaborative-driven research. Thank you.
That's great. And you spoke about UN SDGs. So just to mention for the global audience that is listening to us right now. So as a panel and even as a platform, Bharat Shiksha Sankalp, so we work very closely with United Nations. One of our prior Bharat Shiksha Sankalp sessions, we had the principal policy officer from United Nations as our co-panelist. So we are working in that direction as well, and education being one of the SDGs. So this is where this Bharat Shiksha Sankalp initiative is aligned as well. But thank you so much, Dr. Pathania. So we'll pick up your comments and your inputs from here, and moving to the next set of question actually. So coming back to you, Advocate Nishantji. So according to you, how can we balance the need for this rapid education development with environmental considerations? Though you did touch this part in your initial answer as well, but happy to know more.
Yeah, thank you so much. As stated earlier, I would say that this all requires a very holistic approach. Integrating all these policies, all these sustainability policies throughout every aspect of planning and implementation. It's just not that when you are implementing, then only you think about sustainability, whether it is sustainable or not. When you are planning also, that thing should be the first thing in your mind, whether what you are planning is going to be sustainable or not. So integration of this sustainability concept in the planning process and from the very beginning is going to be the most important thing to do. And that's how we can balance. The end result could be balanced only when we are in the very beginning we have planned about it. Then we need to have, as I discussed earlier, curriculum integration is also going to be a very important factor, to play a very important role in this this process. Then we need to put certain requirements like green building norms. Then we must integrate one more thing. I was wondering, in law colleges we have legal aid clinics. Where the law students go and visit inmates in jails. They go and create legal awareness as such. So experimental learning should be made a part and parcel of our education process. If you see the kind of education system we are having, or what we say is the higher level of education we are having, we are closely cut off and shut off from the nature, environment, our surroundings as such. Even any average school in Delhi NCR they claim themselves to be centrally air conditioned. The kids have fewer or almost no opportunity to play, interact with nature, understand the basics of the thing. So experimental learning, which may include making them aware, taking to the nature and showing them the impact of wrong planning or the mindless use of resources is causing havoc to the environment, the earth, the whole concept of sustainability. We are consuming so much. The kids, they don't know. They just want to have what they want to have. So they should be also made aware. Look, overconsumption is also a factor which is going to deeply impact our future. We are not thinking about how our consumption patterns, which we have today, is going to impact our future tomorrow. That children should be made aware of. Then technology integration could be the another area. And representing the legal fraternity, I'm very happy. I feel really proud that Indian judicial system has picked up very happily this technological integration. Although the trigger point was the COVID-19, but post that we'll find that particularly in the superior courts, for example, the high courts and the Supreme Court, you have the facility of virtual hearing. And you will say how much difference it is going to make. I'll give an example. One of my clients I was doing a SLP in the Supreme Court. The SLP was against a High Court judgment from South. The client had to travel from there with his local counsel who was handling the matter there at the High Court. He would be traveling to New Delhi, take a flight. Two tickets would be there. Then he will come, stay in a hotel here, then travel to the Supreme Court. And that day, for example, within a few moments, his SLP say got dismissed. Or something or the other happened in the morning. There was news late night. There was a circulation there. This bench is not going to sit. I'm not talking in terms of money. I'm talking in terms of the carbon footprint, the whole journey, everything created over here. So Supreme Court, the superior courts have shown a way, and this very well can be much integrated in our education system from the very beginning. In fact, one more good thing I would like to share with you. In the Supreme Court and particularly in the Delhi High Court, you will find that we have now been allowed to use A4 size paper. Earlier, legal pages were being used. A4 size paper and back-to-back printing is allowed. Earlier, only one side you could have printed. Now, and you must have seen in the Chief Justice's Court, Honorable Chief Justice's Court, it's almost paperless court. So that's also technological integration can also help in this particular area. Then other things are there, like waste reduction, waste recycling thing should be there. Then transportation is also, for example, we are living in here in Delhi NCR. That also becomes a very, very big concern, because commutation from point A to point B causes much pollution. And if you see our office and court times, everything clashes at 9 to 10. So that chokes our whole road system. All the arterial roads in Delhi are blocked at that point of time. So thinking out of the box, something is required, that timing should be something segregated, early morning or late evening or early evening. That out of the box thinking is very much required. And I feel here also technology is going to play a very important role. We are having a Zoom meet here. I am not traveling anywhere. I'm right inside in our office. Everyone is there at its own comfort. Otherwise, had it been a physical thing, we would be burning 10 liters of petrol and then reaching the spot. So that is also a very important thing. And definitely, unless and until our education system is evolved, education system respects certain things, we as a students, we as a people are not going to accept it on the face of it. So it has to be imbibed through our education processes. And here the very important role of educational institutions comes into picture. Yes.
No, absolutely. I thank you so much, Advocate Shanti. So I think COVID did play a major role, and I can carry forward from our earlier discussions on this this platform itself, because we have seen that COVID acted as a catalyst in many industries. For example, education, for sure. Nobody had thought that a kindergarten or even a toddler would have his eyes glued to a screen, because the teacher has come to the screen now. So for sure. And even in the legal system, I'm happy to know, because these examples that you just shared, so these are very encouraging, and we all know, because I've personally seen some video recordings which are now available, some legal proceedings that are relayed on YouTube or other platforms, and we have seen the e-courts platform, that how a petitioner can see the status of his legal petition, apply for opt-in for an SMS or something. He doesn't have to come back every time and seek an update. So I think these are monumental changes because of the size and scale of our country, and how our courts, to be honest, are burdened with these massive workload of cases. For sure, we are in the right direction, but yes, much work in that direction is needed still, for sure. Okay, moving ahead. So Mr. Rajiv, coming to you now in second round. So according to you, what life skills do you believe are essential for fostering a socially responsible mindset? Yeah.
Thank you, Avinav, for bringing this out. And Nishanji, if I were to join, I would burn more than 10 liters of petrol, because I am from Hyderabad. Just on the lighter side. So you're absolutely right. Apart from the carbon footprint and a few other things that we would cause because of this travel, it's also the stress of coming and getting the case dismissed or postponed. So that is the mental stress, and that sustainability is what I was talking about earlier also, which is far more bigger than the few rupees that we burn. Okay. Well, Abhinav, me being a life coach, I look at 5 important things that I feel should be imparted not only to the students but also to the management. And when I say management, the teaching community primarily. Okay, the teaching community and then the leadership team over there. And which are these 5 ones? Quickly, I'll walk you through. The first one is the curiosity and open-mindedness. So if you look at some of the international curriculums versus our curriculums, so just to give a spectrum to all of the audience, in India, for example, 4 to 5 different types of curriculums are running, right? You have something called as a state board, which is predominantly present in each state. On top of that, there is something called as CBSE board, which is Central Board for Secondary Education, which is run from Delhi. And then you have something called as, IGCSE, or people call it as Cambridge curriculum, ICSE curriculum. Then you have IB curriculum, which is basically, US based curriculum. So you see all these different kinds of curriculums exist in India. So one size rule will not fit for all in India. So some of the curriculums that we have taken from like Cambridge and IB, those curriculums are already having some of these competencies, right? Whereas that, however, constitutes to only 10 to 15% of Indian education community. 85% of our Indian education community, with reference to the students and the teaching community by itself, is still largely towards state board and CBSE. And that's why you see the NEP becomes that much more important and vital, because that's where we are trying to, not only bridge the gap, but also become far more contemporary in terms of what future education needs to be really imparted to all the children over there. So for all this to be done, one of the things that we require is curiosity and open-mindedness. And to build this, Niti Aayog, again I'll reference, they have started something called as Atal Innovation Mission, AIM, where every school, can participate in this program, and they are also funded by the government of India. And the students, right from 6th grade to 12th grade, can form team, and they can create their own business idea. And then they are appointed industry based mentors, who then work with that particular team, and they're taught everything. Just like a MBA school, they're taught everything in terms of how to define a product, how to go and market, how to do sales. So this is now opening their mind in terms of what product has to be created. And that's why it enhances their curiosity skills, is open their minds to see what opportunity they can do while doing a sustainable business. So this is something that we are doing at the ground level. I'm personally a mentor, so we do this for certain schools as we speak. The second important point, again I'll touch to what Jyoti ma'am and Nishanji touched about earlier, is reasoned judgment. Okay, what do I mean by reasoned judgment? Is teaching them how to analyze information, data, and fact-based decision making. Most of the times, if you talk about sustainability, it's more of a one-day event or a 2-day event. You go, you come, and you finish certain jobs. So some of the schools will say, they'll post pictures that, look, our young kids are managing traffic. Good, well done. So they did some traffic management at some place, and then they came back. Somebody will say, no, I went out to the particular place. Maybe an NGO took me there, and then I distributed, a certain material which I had collected, either from my society or from my school, and then we gave, contribution. We did. So while these are all very important, but these are momentary blips. These are not sustained initiatives by themselves, and that's because from top-down communication is happening. We are not becoming inclusive, where we are taking the students together, where we are taking the teaching staff together and enabling them with data and allowing them to collaborate with the local governments. So for example, here is it would be beneficial for many students to understand how decisions are made locally, including in their own school and in the local government. So if they are visiting, let's say, a particular any place of government, for example, police station, just to understand how things are working, to get an overview, then if they are also made to participate in terms of able to take database decisions, that is a longer sustained project rather than just a visit to a particular place. The third is ethical decision making, and this is very, very critical. Today, the lines are becoming blurred day by day. Day by day, we see on the road, and sometimes we are also very guilty of it. I see many times parents early in the morning, when they have to drop the children to the school, they are sometimes, breaking road rules. So they don't bother, wearing helmet. They don't bother waiting for the green signal to come, and they just go the wrong way and they take a turn this way, that way. So, and they park in a way where it becomes difficult. So early morning, if you go towards the school side, the roads are jam-packed, because a lot of vehicles have come crisscross and they've parked. So it's very difficult, and again in the afternoon time. So what's happening here is, at the parent level itself or the teaching community level itself, we are not able to make an ethics-based decision. So how are we going to become role models for the teacher, for the students? Correct? And therefore, we have to help understand students about mutual respect, culturally relevant social norms, so that the choices that they make are more ethics-based. The fourth point is about personal responsibility, which is instilling a sense of accountability. And today, we find a huge difference. Children sometimes who are provided all the benefits have least care for that. They don't understand from where this has been procured, how much effort has gone to bring it onto the table and for them to consume. They just say, my parents have paid it, I've got it, that's it. So, and parents are also not encouraging them to think, so if some child has asked something, parent can afford it, they give. Good, do that. But while giving, also explain how this has come to the table, so that they appreciate the background of it, rather than taking it that this is what comes naturally to me, so I can just spend it. And that's where the differences start coming. Personal responsibility, they don't understand at early age. So same pattern continues later, and they expect similar kind of experience in corporate, which doesn't happen over there. And the last but most important, what I feel is, to summarize all this, there is a need to teach people about reflection. Every day we need to at least spend 15 minutes for our reflection, if not more, about how did the day go. And the day, it's the reflection today, what people do is more about the tasks that were given to them or the tasks that they had chosen to do and how much they have done. But it's not about how did they perform the task. Did they do it ethically? Did they do it morally right? Did they do it the right way? Is there a better way of doing it? How can I, make myself more sustainable and the environment by that way sustainable? So I think these are the 5 points, that I feel are the life skills that we need to impart at a very early age. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajivji. I mean, these are amazing points, and you summarize it exceptionally well. So kudos to you. I'm sure the audience is loving out there for sure. So I really liked your point, because I think today's generation, and we all have come from different age groups, but I think we didn't have much of a sense of entitlement back when we were studying, because when we were studying and we were getting those resources or facilities, whether from our academia or from our parents, we were honestly, thankful from the core of our heart. Okay, we are getting this kind of library, or we are getting these modern books, or we are getting these modern computers. But I think today there is a price tag. So you pay a price tag, and by default, the kid feels that they are entitled, and off goes the accountability. And sustainability obviously will never come back with that as well. So in sense of time, I had a bit more comments, but I have to go to Dr. Pathania now, because we have our discussions going on, and we are just 15 minutes away from our closure. So Dr. Pathania, I think according to you, what global education practices can India really adopt to promote sustainability?
Yeah, thank you. Avinav, I would just like to take on from my previous panelist when he said we need to teach the students, they need to learn. And here I would like to add one more thing. Teaching and learning is not enough. We have to involve them in sustainability projects. They should be the bearers of sustainability projects. So involvement needs to be there apart from teaching and learning. Until and unless they are involved in those community projects or society projects or wherever they are staying, for a small thing like even if they are in their own homes, but they are switching off the light, They are closing the tap when they leave the washroom. These are little etiquettes which promote you towards the habit of sustainability. So your behavioral pattern towards sustainability, is again very important. So teaching, learning is fine, but involving them in sustainability goals and sustainability projects and sustainability living is something which will change their mindsets and make it as a habit. So it becomes habitual for them, to do these little things that I told you, and this will certainly help. Now to answer your question, why do we go and think about global education? I think we can think about our own educational patterns here. The basic thing is you need to integrate student as a catalyst for change. They are the agents who will drive the change. So, like I said, involve them in sustainability initiatives, whether it's off campus, in-house, everywhere. Then you have facilities like clubs. You reward the student participation in sustainability competitions. Ideathons, like you have hackathons, you have ideathons on sustainability. You have campus sustainability initiatives like waste management, solar projects, water conservation, your curricular research practices. Moreover, this drive, there needs to be a sustainability week. Like my fellow panelists said, that just 1 day or 2 day you have workshop and then it's a foregone story. At least a sustained curriculum, a sustained discussion for at least a week where you talk about sustainability and you adopt these newer paradigms of sustainability, not only in your corporate or business houses, but in ministries and think tanks, healthcare sector, education sector. This will certainly enhance not only our future, but their future. There is a need to focus on ethics, on culture, on non-material values like compassion, belongingness to the community, to the planet. This will give us a win-win partnership. So you need to develop connectedness to the natural environment, society, even the business world. And this can best happen through experiential learning, which requires a combination of curricular, operational, and the on-campus engagement. And here, the entire cycle of bringing about change in mindsets of institutional members is through right policies and processes. So like any other institutional change happens, capacity building for sustainability must be considered as a part of systemic change, and it has to be incorporated as a part of the core organizational study. I think I would leave it at that. And if I may add one more thing, universities are laboratories of lifelong learning. So, there, for instance, I'll give you an example. The Parliament of India recently recommended Farm to Fashion as a campus model for the fashion students,
Yes.
where a garden of plants for natural fiber and natural dye is developed, and a natural fiber and dye processing unit was integrated as a lab of sustainable fashion education. So these positive practices can certainly create models that, others can look up to and follow. So the higher education
Right.
institutions should aspire for this and integrate technology also for sustainability. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's a great, I would say, closing thought as well, because I'm just looking at the clock as well, because we are just 10 minutes away. But yes, I mean, Dr. Pradhani, I and you will echo this, because whenever we visit campuses, the only thing that we sometimes hear from campuses is that we are aiming towards a carbon neutral campus, and that's all that they have to say when they speak about sustainability. Oh, we are carbon neutral, and probably somebody says that, okay, we are having solar powered panels, and we are having natural light in our classroom. That's the old sustainability that they talk about. But you touch base a very valid point. And I have a follow-up question for you as well. Now, you mentioned that it has to be a systematic process and you have to imbibe it at an early stage. But then how early do you think that a child should be even introduced to the concept of sustainability? Because again, it will be a chain reaction then. right? Or step by step.
Your own homes. Your family is your first school. So
Right.
it has to come from parenting, from your parents. And
Hmm.
these are very small things. Don't waste the food that is on your plate. You have to eat the food that is on your plate. These are normal etiquettes and ethics which move us towards sustainability. I'll give you an example for education for sustainable development. There was this 16-year-old boy called Aryan Rajvanshi. He was from Ahmedabad. He leveraged the drone technology to advise farmers in Gujarat and Uttar Pradesh as to how to optimally use fertilizers, and this enabled the farmers to save the soil. Another example, Ananya Malde from Bengaluru. She's just 15 years of age. She runs an awareness program on sustainable menstruation for rural women in tribal areas of Gujarat. So there are 14-year-old Ishan Gupta from Delhi. He created a solar power, low cost water filtration units for the people at the grassroots. So, we do have cases like this where students are showing and they are coming up with their projects towards sustainability.
Sure. And I think this all connects because Mr. Rajiv also mentioned, because the AIM or AIM, which Niti Aayog, I think these kind of initiatives are the ones that are really needed in today's time to foster these kind of ideas, because we know we have brilliant kids, but sometimes the execution is a problem. They don't have mentors, they don't have resources, they know the idea, they want to execute, but they really don't have an access to the right set of resources. All right, so I think we will just quickly, for the audience, so I think we will have to bring this session of Bharat Shiksha Sankalp to a close. And to be honest, I'm reminded of the ancient Indian ethos from this discussion, which is Vasudev Kutumbakam, so which means the world is one family. So I think in today's discussion, we have not only upheld this sentiment, but I've also pledged to extend it further through education that nurtures social responsibility and sustainability. And we began this session with an aspiration to unearth actionable insights. And thanks to our distinguished panelists, we are leaving with a treasure trove of strategies, ideas, and a renewed sense of purpose, I would say. I quickly request my panelists if you can just have your closing remarks, 2 minutes, 1 or 2 minutes from your side for our global audience. It'd be great. Advocate Nishantji, over to you for your closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. As a lawyer, as a law person, I would say that law can play a very important role in the whole discourse about sustainability and environment protection as such, because as a matter of fact, you see, law becomes legal. There are so many legal barriers for which stop somebody from changing. The most important being the uncertainty about the liability or the risk involved in changing. No organization, nobody wants to make change where and go into a situation where he is not aware what could be its liability or what are the risks involved in the whole process. So these legal barriers must be removed. There should be a clarity about how, what are the risks which are going to be involved, and there shouldn't be any uncertainty. Then there should be much freedom given to the educational institutions to plan, to integrate, to think on their own, because top-down process won't work. A environmentally sustainable program in say Rajasthan may not be that sustainable in other part of the country. So at the local level, the permission, the ability for the educational institutions to experiment and to make deviate, to make changes should also be there. Then monetary money is the mother of everything. So monetary incentives must be there. Budgetary incentives, loan, grants, that kind of thing should be there. And these institutions must be given freedom to collaborate with the business houses, to collaborate with corporate social responsibility initiatives of these business houses, and that's how the whole process is going to be. The process itself will become sustainable, I'll say.
Yes, and to be honest, long lasting. That's the whole idea, because otherwise it will become transactional in nature, which we see right now. Thank you, Advocate Nishantji. Mr. Rajiv, over to you, please.
Thank you, Abhinavji. And I think India is rightly placed at the right time, as always. And there's lots that we can do together collectively. I think some of the closing remarks are: education leaders have to support this endeavor wholeheartedly and credibly. Organize a participative process of school development and emphasize sustainability and ethical social development in the daily life of school. That is very, very important, and offer student opportunities to launch their own initiatives. So I think this will be a very big takeaway. We are still focused and guided by a curriculum, but if we are able to offer opportunities to launch their own initiatives, we can catch them young. We heard stories told by Jyoti, and there are innumerable stories that we can talk like that. And more importantly, as I told you, foundation needs to be strong. So the teaching community by itself need to be encouraged to write research papers and publish those research papers on sustainability initiatives. Otherwise, it's very easy. As parents, we expect our children to do. Children will expect their children to do. It's always passed down. We never look at ourselves, strengthening. That is something we need to look at. Just a couple of more points that we should look at is there is a real need to move from treating sustainability as a topic to sustainability as life. And a lot more needs to be done to integrate the same with current education system. And last but not the least, I feel the education systems are now looking at building a culture that is inclusive, diverse, and interdisciplinary connectedness. And therefore, investment in education for sustainability is happening. Thank you.
Absolutely. I think modern age universities are quite aggressively picking up on all those points, and that we all are witnessing, and these changes are coming for sure. Dr. Patani, over to you for your final concluding remarks.
Thank you, Abhinav. Well, the takeaway is that sustainability needs to be taught as a horizontal and not as a specialized vertical at school and university. It is imperative, certainly imperative, that educational institutions, academics, policymakers, and civil society organizations, including legal luminaries, should come together to transform the way our current education system works and to put sustainability at the core of it all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful discussion. And I think as we conclude, let us remind ourselves that each step that we take towards incorporating sustainability in education is a step towards a better future. I'm pretty sure we all agree. And it is up to us as educators, as policymakers, legal experts, thought leaders, to carry forward the torch that has been lit today. On behalf of Eduverse Summit, I extend a heartfelt thank you to our panelists for their invaluable contributions, to our audience in India and abroad for their engagement, and to everyone behind the scenes who made this session possible. So until next time, keep the spirit of Bharat Shiksha Sankalp alive in your endeavors. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nishantji, Rajivji, and thank you, Dr. Patania. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abhinav. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.